Hello, Uta here of Trans Widow, Uta Hagen YouTube channel with my mixed bouquet, some of which Tammy Peterson, the wife of Jordan Peterson, got to see when we recorded yesterday. Oh, I'm just going to have the yarrow in the screen, and you'll notice my little pyramid of tomatoes. I have to make sauce. That's going to be my evening, is cooking tomato sauce. We have an abundance of tomatoes. I had harvested leaf mulch off of my rocks in the woods. And it turns out that fallen leaves that have been baked and rained on and snowed on and frozen and thawed and so on all winter in the woods break down into very nice, beautiful black soil. I call it black gold. And yeah, oh yes, and my blog is utahagengrasswidow.wordpress.com. It is always in the notes, and you can contact me on that contact form. So, very interesting milestone. Outside of the fact that I have now interviewed with Tammy Peterson twice, and her producer said that the first interview has been edited and it will be posted on Tammy Peterson YouTube channel very soon. I think it might be Tammy, Tammy underscore Peterson, Peterson, and Son Peterson. I don't know if Jordan's family is from the Swedes or the Norwegians or the Danes. Typically, if it's the Danes, it would be Sen at the end, and he's got Son. So I'm thinking maybe the Swedes. But anyway, yes, 50. 50 trans widows. I have data now from 50 of us. Trans widow number 50, I got the data from her ex-husband blog. And so there are only really 4 data points. He admitted it was a revelation. He went crying to her and said, I have to do this. And he blogs and blogs and blogs about the demise of their marriage and how intolerant she is. And he defames her. And there was just enough there to get some data. So that's the way it is with maybe about a third of my trans widow data, is that it's from interviews or some blogs somewhere. So not every question in my 20 questions to ask a trans widow is answered. And so some of the data actually reflects underreporting. Now, some of the data also reflects that we don't know if this young child, who is a toddler now, is going to later be coerced by his father to call him mama something, because it's not succeeding right now. So those kind of things sometimes take a while to play out. And I'm going to start out with the fact that there are 34 children of the 50 trans widows in the data. This was not a specific question in 20 questions to ask a trans widow. So there is probably underreporting on this, but nevertheless, I feel that it's significant. Of 34 children, it was noted that 7 of them expressed serious consequential suicidal ideation. That's including my older son, and typically resulting in at least, some sessions with a qualified therapist who has some credentials in child development. And of those 7, 4 were hospitalized for actual suicide attempts. I feel that even given the understanding that it's probably some underreporting. Several of these 34 children are very, very young still at this point. And so, you know, that's an unknown whether they will become so distressed about the way their father uses them for a prop in the future, that they might have these very bad feelings and say things about how they would want to end their life. And of course, um, anyone who is having problems with these thoughts, if it's very, very serious and you're thinking of, the method that you might use, of course you should uh, call the emergency services, or walk yourself or get yourself over to the emergency room, and you tell the medical people that's what you have been thinking. So this and there's a moral and ethical piece of this, which is that if a person does this, then someone finds their body. And so that is never the choice that is in any way moral or ethical or right in any way. And this is a glorification of suicide, which trans ideology does make. That is just that's just evidenced by what they do. Now, I did have to talk to Nettie about this a couple of times and tell him that this is very much against the religion that he grew up with, and that he would scar all of the people that he is related to forever, for the rest of their lives. My father had a second cousin who was closer to my age who did that, and it really affected me. Um, it was very, it's a very serious issue, and it should not be taken as lightly as they take it. So, the first question is, was his cross-dressing a revelation or your discovery? Now, there are some important factors about that. For example, whether it's a revelation or a discovery, but especially if it's a discovery, if he's been going to a therapist or psychologist or whatever, who specializes in this gender field, then that professional is very likely acting in collusion with him to help him engage in this deceit. And so that's one reason that it's very important to have it out there whether we discovered what our husbands were doing by his revelation to us, or our discovery. And I don't think one is more shocking than the other. They're typically both very, very shocking. And so of the 50 of us, 22, it was a revelation. 20, it was a discovery. And in my review of interviews and blogs and writings and books and so on, there are still 8 that were unknown. Number 2, did he tell you that it's under control and not frequent, and then it escalated out of control? 24. So that's just about half of us. He said that he had it under control. He only needed to do this once in a while if we would only put up with some kind of schedule of this, or him going around at home wearing our aprons and putting on fingernail polish and shaving his legs, or whatever combination of the above he's decided he has to do, then he's making the claim that then that would be it. You just need to compromise in what you think our marriage is, and then, things will remain the same. So half of the time he's saying things can remain the same if you just make these compromises. And again, what this represents is that these guys do not understand how invasive this is into our female psyche and our female spaces. It means for the wife, that you can't go swimming at the Y and just be with women in the women's locker room. I remember thinking about little details like this of my life, that if I continued to, if I was coerced into this kind of adaptation, that I would just be so uncomfortable over and over and over again. And there are other little pieces of this, such as these guys imagine that we are male, um, which is a very odd feeling. Number 3, did he select a therapist, and did that therapist or he claim the marriage is now a lesbian relationship? In 13 cases, that was yes. And again, I'm sure there's some underreporting. Number 4, did he put money in a secret account or other venue and spend it on wardrobe, makeup, electrolysis, etc.? Did he incur credit card debt for his spending? 17, yes. There are a few unknowns from those interviews or books or articles. However, 17 is 1/3. It's just over a third of the 50 of us. And that is very, very deceitful. And also, often, the family has been, and especially the wife, has been engaging in economizing in consumption of foodstuffs and clothing. I mean, I was wearing my old pregnancy clothes for a long time, and realized later that he'd been out cross-dressing, buying all kind of things, Lord and Taylor, all this type of thing for himself, plus getting himself very fancy bespoke shirts at the time in the 1990s, at least $50, $100 a shirt, and $50 ties. So this is really out of control spending, and the narcissism of it not being important that your children or your wife have nice things or have enough money or feel secure in how the family budget is being spent. Did he wear your clothing or makeup? 19 of us. Yes, that's more than a third, approaching a half. Did he suggest or coerce or cajole you into sex role play, whereby you are to use a strap-on or other sex toy and play a male part in bed? 14. Yes. So that's just under a third, a little over 20%, I guess. Did a therapist suggest, well, it's actually, you could just double it. It's 28%, actually, because there are 50 of us. So if you want a percent, then you just double every number. So did he wear your clothing or makeup? 19. So 38% of us discovered. That's, between a third and a half. Okay, so number 7. Did a therapist suggest any of the above with the sex role play? And 5 of us, yes, had therapists saying that we just need to do that to make him happy and have that be included in the list of compromises in our lives and our identities that we need to engage in to make him happy so that we can, in quotes, keep the family together. Did he defame or vilify you in affidavits submitted to court in the divorce custody process, or defame or vilify you on social media or to friends? 24, half of us, just about half, 48%. This is on blogs, on Facebook, in social media, in court. With my case, his diagnosing psychologist, so-called sexologist, Dr. Connie, also submitted affidavits in court attesting to what a terrible, uncompromising, and intolerant person I am. Despite the fact that I had been a professional dancer and had studied with a lot of gay male dancers, I didn't really know about the lesbian choreographers that I might have, taken classes from or learned from or whatever. I did have lesbian friends too, and we went to a synagogue with a lesbian rabbi. I conservative in the conservative movement. Did he claim to any therapist or group of friends that you abused him verbally or physically? 7, yes. Number 10, did he attack you physically? That is 13, said yes, I'm not in that group. In 3 cases, it was choking. 2 of the cases with choking, it was reported to police, but only those were reported to police. And 11, did he force unwanted sex on you? And did that happen more than once? And were the police called? 18, that's 36%. That's a significant segment of us. And in 5 of those 18 cases, it was rape. So that's 10% of us got raped. 1 rape was reported to the police. 12, did you live below the poverty line or require governmental or family financial assistance at any time after the end of the relationship? 17 of us, yes. And again, this represents underreporting because in some of the interviews and in the interviews, in the books, it usually, there was a couple of books, so in the books it usually did, and in those cases, there was, financial distress. And in the case of Christine Benvenuto, what Joy Ladin, who used to be Jay Ladin, just change of 1 letter, he vilified her so much that she wasn't able to work in her job as a freelance writer. And it threatened, they had 3 children. So it's just quite remarkable. 13, did any members of the clergy tell you that you need to give in to this and acquiesce and da-da-da-da-da? 4, in 4 cases, yes. Did anyone, number 14, therapist, friend, family, suggest you are now obligated to share Mother's Day? And I added to this, did teachers prompt the children to start making 2 Mother's Day gifts? And so some of this, the children are too young, they're not in school yet, but there were 3 of us where that happened. In your own individual therapy or in the process of interviewing a therapist for potential therapy, that happened to me, did any mental health professionals tell you he's to be referred to as female, your wife, your ex-wife, and she, and so on? 8, 16%, yes. I think that's also underreporting with some of these chronologies. 16, did you lose a set of friends? 21 of us, yes, lost a set of friends who decided to ally with him. And so that's 42%. 17, did he start self-identifying as mother of the children he fathered or was a stepfather? There was 1 stepfather who started calling himself a stepmother. And that is in 10 of our cases, yes, so that's 20%, 1/5. Did he suggest or insist that the children call him Mama something or some other version of Mum? 10. And there's 1 grandfather who was a very late transitioner who is bothering a 7-year-old grandchild to call him Nana and scolding her when she forgets. Did a therapist or husband or any friends or relatives tell you that your rejection of him and ending the relationship caused him to decide to live full-time as a female? 6 of us, yes, so that's 12%. Again, a significant segment. Did he, last question, did he co-opt your experience of childbirth using the details of your labor to convince new friends of his that he has female status and is a mother? 4 of us, yes, he did that. So that's 8%. And now I'm just going to read you a couple of quotes from the most recent profiles. He told me not to tell any friends because he would not come out until he could pass as a woman. Somebody needs to be honest with him. And he's one of these people who, after 43 years of marriage, said this. And in order to pass as a woman, he required facial feminization surgery. And he wanted the surgeon that was the same as some famous other person, some other guy. And apparently, this was just a couple of years ago. It was $55,000 of US dollars. And he was going to take the money out of our retirement funds. I mean, can you imagine being the surgeon who is willing to do this? You know, somebody, if you know a surgeon who does this, please send him this or her this video. And okay, one of the other ones, there was a selection of a trans therapist. This was one of the ones that there was no physical assault or sexual assault because this guy just basically withdrew from sexual activity with his wife completely. So there you have it. There are 50 of us. Please, if you know of someone, please give them a reference. utahagengrasswidow.wordpress.com. Give her the reference that there is Trans Widows Unite and Trans Widows 2 Words, both closed by invitation only Facebook groups. And you can, contact me through my WordPress blog and get the 20 questions survey, and I will continue. I plan to collect data for the rest of my active life, and I'm planning that will be hopefully a couple of more decades. I'm only 66. So plant the flowers and count the butterflies, and be well, always in mind and body.